Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sharon and today we are going to be talking about some UI UX terms and terminologies that you should know as a designer or as a person working in tech. So please, as we get into this, don't forget to like, to share, and to subscribe, and drop a comment if there's something you would like to discuss or a question that's not too clear. I will also include in the description a bit more text that you can read up on if you want more details, and yeah, let's get into it. So number one is user experience. Now, user experience typically refers to the overall experience of a user while using a particular platform, product, or service. So it's usually in terms of how pleasing or not so pleasing their experience was. What emotions did they feel while trying to use your platform? Were they frustrated? Were they able to achieve their goals easily? That is really what defines a good or a bad user experience. The emotions, the thoughts, the feelings while a user is trying to achieve their goal. Number two is user interface. The user interface really just refers to the visual elements that a user has to interact with while trying to achieve their goals. So these refers to things that they can interact with directly. So clicking on things and all of that. Those specific things that they have to really touch or interact with or click, those are the visual elements. Those make up the user interface. Now, sometimes we think of user interfaces just in terms of the web, but it goes beyond that. So when you think of your typical day-to-day electronics, your toaster, your remote, your phone, things like that, those all have interfaces that you have to interact with. Therefore, they also have user interfaces. Number three is usability test. This refers to a test or evaluation that is done on a product or service by representative users. Now, it could be remote or it could be in person. Now, the idea is that you give users, these representative users, access to this product or platform so that they can play around with it. Most likely you give them a task or tell them something specific to do. And then while you're doing it, you observe, and then you can see what problems that they face while trying to achieve these goals or while trying to really do these tasks. It's a super important aspect of testing because it helps you to understand what things that you might have missed when designing and what is really not so clear for your users. It is also mostly done before you launch a new product or feature so that you can possibly make up for any mistakes before it actually gets into the market. Number four is A/B testing. A/B testing or split testing is a method where you compare two versions of essentially the same thing, the same web page, mobile app, to see which one performs better with your users. Now, this ideally is already actually launched, so it's usually not very drastic changes. Usually people are testing copy changes, different colors, positioning of elements, just to see which one drives usually higher conversions or higher click-through rates and things like that. So essentially you just want to know which one actually performs better. So you could be testing some small changes most of the time in terms of putting one button here and putting another one there and just things like that, just to see which one your users interact with better and which one would most likely drive more revenue. Number five is accessibility. Now, accessibility just is designing products, services, and environments in an all-inclusive manner. So it really refers to designing for people who also have special needs and accommodating them in whatever it is that you are creating. Recently, Twitter released a feature where users can record and post voice notes. Now, in as much as it's probably a great feature, it's not so inclusive to people who probably have some hearing issues. And why is that? Because since they can't hear, they really don't know what the post is about. So say, for example, if Twitter had included some kind of alt text or description text where people can kind of give a hint or a clue about what it is that they're talking about, then you would say that that feature was a bit more inclusive. Number six is information architecture. Now, information architecture for me personally, when I first started, was something I struggled with a little bit because I always thought it was this really hard concept, but it turns out it's not. Really what it is a document or a chart that really just outlines everything in a particular product or service and how it all interacts with each other. So think of it like a blueprint. So it's a blueprint that really outlines hierarchy, behavior, and interaction of content on a particular product. Usually it is not shared publicly in terms of to users, but it is a very important document when interacting with stakeholders such as business people, product managers, so that you as a designer can really show your goal or vision of how everything should ideally link together in a way that people can interact with it properly and achieve their goals. Now when I say it also includes behavior, I mean things like when you click here, it links to this, or if you hover here, it shows that. Those are all behaviors that you definitely want to include in your information architecture documents. Number 7 is persona. Now a persona is a fictional character that you create to represent a type of user that may use your product or service. Now these are usually grouped according to certain behavior patterns, goals, or even demographics. Now it's a great way to build empathy to your users, and it helps you to ensure that you are developing, designing, and doing everything with them and with your goals in mind. Number 8 is gamification. No, gamification is not turning everything into a game. What it really means is taking specific game-like elements or elements that you would most likely see in a game and putting them into your product or service that is not a game. So the science behind this is called motivation science. So the idea really is to drive user engagement. So typically how it works is including things like progress circles, leaderboards, and things like that into your product or platform, so that when people see these things, they're a bit more excited and a bit more willing to use your platform. Say for example, if you have used Apple before and an Apple wristwatch, so you would know that it has these activity monitors and there are these circles. So what those circles do is, beyond monitoring your activity, they kind of push you to want to close off those circles, to achieve more, to do more. And by that, it drives user engagement while not being a game, but it achieves your goals and theirs as well. Number 9 is UI patterns. Now UI patterns are reusable solutions to reoccurring problems. So say for example how you have a nav bar, and a nav bar helps the user to navigate through different sections of the website. That is a good example of a UI pattern, and you would see it on basically every single platform. Every platform has some kind of navigation or the other. So it solves a problem in terms of being able to guide or show the user where different levels of content are, and it is a solution that has already been created, so all you have to do as a designer is to reapply it. In user experience, after a while you find out that a lot of things are really just made up of reusable patterns. These include navigation, buttons, cards, forms, etc. These are all things that have been done before, but you can, of course, as a designer, take these things and kind of customize them and ensure that while being consistent with other patterns, they can still achieve whatever unique needs or goals that you need to achieve. Number 10 is user-centered design. Now, user-centered design is really just a series of processes or steps that strives to put the user at the center of the development of the product. So every decision is made with the user in mind, the goals of the user in mind. So typically these steps include: number 1, identifying the needs of the users; number 2, specifying the exact requirements; number 3, designing a solution; and then number 4, evaluating the solution with the needs that you initially identified. Now, this is always a great way to ensure that whatever it is that you are designing actually fits in with the goal of your average user, and that way you're not spending resources designing things that your users actually don't need, but you're keeping your users satisfied and happy by designing specific solutions for them. Okay everyone, thank you so much for watching. I do have a lot more content planned for the next coming weeks, so please like, please share, please subscribe, and leave a thumbs up if you enjoyed this. And yeah, I will see you soon. Thank you so much for watching.